we want to accelerate risk analysis, right? And so this requires getting the data. And so in public domain, all the big manufacturers submit thousands of MDRs and it becomes cumbersome and it's just a lot of data. But when FDA publishes it, they actually have a backdoor to the data, and we've cleaned it and scrubbed it and made it into a useful format. And so there's a lot of use cases from risk trending, competitive intelligence, even reporting. And so
before you go, you have the logos for Google Cloud and MAUDE 2.0. Could you explain on? I've never heard people talk about MAUDE 2.0. I've heard everyone knows MAUDE, but what's the 2.0 and when did that happen? And how is Google Cloud involved?
Yeah, so MAUDE actually isn't like trademarked or copyrighted or anything. It's just a brand I've created. And it's, I think, the next iteration of what MAUDE should look like. And that's kind of where
MAUDE 2.0 is the name of your company?
Of this, yes, of this product, of this brand.
Of this product. Okay.
It's not affiliated with the FDA. Sorry for the confusion there.
It is confusing, but are you sorry? I think you did that on purpose.
Right. It's intentional, but hey, it caught your attention. So
yes, it did. And how are you using the Google Cloud in your work?
Yeah, so Google has a suite of tools, and we just use it to extract and clean the data into a useful format.
All right.
Great. So let's continue. So we basically have jailbroken the 500 search limit into basically unlimited, to the extent that I'm willing to pay for server cache burn on the back end. And we've added some analytics, clustering, and comparison features. So as you know, 500 limit, we're trying to go a bit farther. If you look at the past 3 years, there's like 8 million, right? So if you do the math, 8 million, if you're a MAUDE user divided by 500, you have to find a needle in a haystack.
Screen refreshing. I'm saying that would be a lot of screen refreshes and advancing next.
Sorry, sure. Yeah. I'll slow down.
No, that's all right. Please continue.
Yep. Can everyone see like this holistic view?
Yeah, could you take us through these visualizations on the bottom?
Yep. So on the bottom, that's when the FDA publishes the complaints. The nature of the complaint is, it may be way in the past and may be very recent, so it's variable. But we basically sorted them by, adverse event, true or false, as in the tag is yes or no on the left there. In the middle, we've sorted them by event type, so it gives you kind of a color and visualization of what they're receiving. And on the bottom right, there's also a flag of product problem, true or false. So the goal here is to paint a holistic picture of what's being received year over year, and just kind of the sheer volume of complaints coming in. I do want to hone in on the top left, total complaints inbound. There's like 8 million over 3 years, which is quite a lot. And then on the very right, there's kind of this table, what I call a 4-quadrant risk. So you can see yes and no, as in Y and N, both on the X and Y axis. And depending where the complaint lands, yes and yes, or yes and no, vice versa, that kind of paints the perspective you should look at that particular complaint. So the prisoner's dilemma is like a common business school
It's fun
concept, right? It's super fun. I read on you, you read on me, there's different outcomes. But taking that kind of adverse event, true or false angle on the y-axis there, and then product problem, true or false, you can kind of see, you would view certain complaints in these quadrants slightly differently. For example, like the highest risk is probably, hey, yeah, the problem was due to the product. And then it was also an adverse event. But not all recalls are necessarily adverse events. They could be like a near miss. So like, yeah, there wasn't an adverse event, but it's still a product problem. So in these 2 quadrants, I believe, are amongst the highest risk types.
I want to make sure I don't take away the wrong thing from your anecdote, that there are some recalls that are, hey, don't worry about it.
No, it's rather the recall was not associated with an adverse event, but it was associated with the malfunction. And so even though nobody got hurt, like a near miss, they're still recalling it preemptively.
Labeling.
Right, labeling, software issues.
Somebody anonymously, unusual, asks, why does MAUDE data only go back 5 years?
I don't know, but I have 10 years of data. So if you want 10 years, I can go back 10 years.
Is it that FDA's databases are limited and it's like last in, first out, and you get to keep 5 years? And I don't know, you have an archive, but I don't know.
Yeah, they do have an archive of sorts, but you'll have to ask them in terms of their IT infrastructure. Not clear. This one is, if you look on MAUDE and the TPLC website, they kind of have code by code or problem by problem. And it's very flat and linear. Here we've kind of stacked reporting codes together because sometimes manufacturers report 2, 3, 4 codes at the same time. We also added some analytics, so you can see, hey, this code is associated with injury, malfunction, vice versa. So this table just helps the user understand it a bit quicker. We also have the patient problem, right? So, in MAUDE and TPLC, it's laid out flat, but in many cases, there are multiple codes being tagged for patient problem. So if you look on the right, I don't know, hyperglycemia, urinary frequency, and so on. And so you're able to drill down onto these combinations or combos of codes and trend it like that. So that's an advantage there.
May I ask,
Sure.
go back, to open it to the room, how many of you have or are using MAUDE in any of your work? Yuha? Marin, never?
Occasionally, if I'm working with a client and we're looking at creating like requirements and things like that, one of the first places I'll go to is the MAUDE database to see what types of events or reports have come in on a certain type of project. For example, I was working with a company recently that was doing a new adhesive bandage, and we got the appropriate product codes. I don't usually go in directly through MAUDE, but you can get a total product lifecycle report coming in kind of from a different search criteria, and that will give you all of the MAUDE information as well. And just to note, the information on the MAUDE database page says 10 years, so I don't know where the 5 years was coming from.
Sure. I didn't say 5 years. I think somebody in the audience did. No worries.
Sean, you
I
have?
use it for risk management, like annual review of risk management files, and like Marin said, for design inputs, even about possibly competitor products and where could we go wrong similarly.
Yeah, I use it in exactly the same way. You forecast what's on the market, as you're bringing R&D into the field, you can kind of forecast what goes wrong with certain categories, implants, orthopedics, screws, what have you.
Michelle, I know that you're familiar with at least 2 of his competitors. Are you using MAUDE, or are you using one of his competitors, or how do you access the data?
I hate MAUDE. It's the none of the user databases none of the FDA databases are user friendly, but MAUDE is the least.
And so what are you using now?
I'm using Basil right now.
Okay. I don't know about you, but people of a certain age, I can't get over how this is B. Arthur's character from Norman Lear. So every time people hate MAUDE, I'm like, I just have this vision of B. Arthur.
It's funny.
In fact, when I first learned about MAUDE more than a decade ago, I wrote a blog post called "And Then There's MAUDE," and I put a picture of B. Arthur and I explained what it was. For what it's worth.
Tell Leslie about that.
Till
That would be good for my LinkedIn.
Oh, okay, sure I will. Sean Smith, you are on mute, and you are the reason for this call with Jesse. You are the person who brought us together. Thank you. Still muting. We have some user error here going on. Yuha, you look competent to take yourself off mute.
Well, we are using MAUDE every 3 years when we do the clinical evaluation report, and nowadays we check the MAUDE once a year for post-market clinical follow-ups for our thermal imaging devices.
You know that
This is mainly for the European authorities, but that's one of the only global databases that gives you the necessary information about the adverse effects in the competitive in our own or competitors' devices.
okay. Well, that reminds me of a question. Jesse, in full disclosure, as I mentioned, Basil is a member of our community. I've spoken with them a number of times. They've asked me for some marketing help, and I remember challenging them because they were like, "Hey, Joe, do you know manufacturers who can find this useful?" And I said, well, yeah, but I mean, how often does a manufacturer need to hit MAUDE? I mean, does it justify them having a subscription to your service? I don't know how much you charge, Jesse, or how it's set up.
Yeah, we're getting
or
started still.
It makes sense instead to have someone like Michelle, who helps many companies with regulatory data analysis and access and the like. It makes sense for her because I imagine she has to hit MAUDE lots of times. Yeah, she needs something much easier, but if UHA's needing it once every 1 to 3 years, does it make sense for him to consider a product like yours?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's true that not everyone uses this 30 days out of the month. They may use it for R&D like purposes. They may use it for post-market reporting. But there's also vigilance use cases, right? And so what we've done is also correlated product problems with patient problems. And we also go a little bit deeper to monitor market intelligence, right? And so it just depends on your use case. Someone like Michelle can maybe phone me for a data pool, and I'll just be like, hey, give me $10 or 20 bucks, whatever. Probably doesn't need like $1,000 subscription, is my thinking. That said, a lot of clinical teams may find this beneficial. That way they know kind of the mapping and landscape of how some malfunctions may cause certain clinical effects. So this is just one view, and I'm going to give everyone access and demo to play with it to make sure it's useful.
Great.
We also have lot code clustering, right? So if you wanted to drill down on certain defect codes or patient codes, they can see like, hey, which site did it come from? Which lot code is it tied to? In this case, I know the gentleman mentioned he does comparative analysis, based on past performance. And so we have some comparative views here, especially for like EU MDR reporting, periodic, surveillance reports.
The graphics on your screen right now, is this something that we would see on your platform, or did you make this pretty for a presentation?
This is something you would see. The logos, however, I put on there as pretty, and I'll give you access in just a second so you can actually play with it. But these are not just pretty diagrams. They're dynamic and interactive, and you can access the underlying data.
Sean, you've been patient and you have figured out the unmute button.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Sorry I was late. I was having some technical problems that I have overcome. Yeah, so thank you, Jesse, for showing up today and sharing what you're working on with the group. I think, so I've been working with a number of companies that have been dealing with MAUDE data for the better part of, gosh, 5-6 years. And I think that what the audience really needs to understand is that because UDEMED is not ever come together, there is no systematic way in Europe to find any sort of post-market data in any cohesive way from the various reporting authorities, and the databases at the country level are private, hard to search, and oftentimes just PDF documents. So the only reliable data source, to the extent that the MAUDE data is accurate, which is another question, but it is the best data set that exists for any sort of post-market surveillance, any sort of competitive intelligence, any sort of understanding what the playing field in with your predicates is, with your comparator products. So from a business intelligence perspective, competitive intelligence perspective, post-market surveillance perspective, the MAUDE database is where it's at. As Michelle has pointed out, the interfaces provided by the FDA for interacting with that data are wholly inadequate. Therefore, having an interface which allows you to ask questions, get answers, drill down, compare, and produce reports definitely has a lot of value, especially for any company trying to fulfill its post-market surveillance requirements under EU MDR, which are not insubstantial. And it's a continuous process. And if you think about a company that has, 100 products or more, it becomes a constant endeavor, right? That they're continually doing post-market surveillance. And right now, this represents the best data set. So that is why I wanted Jesse to come and show us what he's working on. Also, because he is an entrepreneur. And I knew that you guys would give him valuable feedback on what you saw, and ask questions that might make him think about his project differently. So I really hope that you guys will take full advantage of this opportunity to see. I think that if you think about the MAUDE database as being one of the most substantial resources of real-world evidence that exists in any government, from any government database, any public database, that is the way to think about MAUDE.
Thank you. I'm eager to see the demo. So
Yeah, why don't we jump ahead? You can all type in this URL, and if you want to access access Dexcom's data, we also have Abbott Libraries there, and we have a comparative view if you want to just.
yeah, Michelle, I know you're with clients and multitasking, but maybe could you, Jesse, could we give Michelle remote access to your screen, or have?
No, I can't do that right now.
No, okay.
Well, if anybody else wants to do it, the URL is open.
If somebody uses any of these systems and wants to drive so that we can see what a new user experience would be like, what's intuitive, what's not, that could be really valuable.
I'll stop sharing them. But does everyone have the URL?
Maureen, maybe you could.
Where? Oh, okay, hold on.
I'm trying to type in the URL, but it doesn't seem to be working.
Here, let me try to do that for you.
But
Put it in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
Yeah.
And Sean has beat me to it. Yes, pardon me, Jesse has. Good.
All right, I'll stop sharing.
Who have we got to take the lead? Is it going to be me? Okay. An overwhelming demand by my audience.
There it is. Got it.
You will? Okay, I'll have
Sure,
you.
I'll do it.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Maren.
Okay, Maureen, I'll do it. Let's see. Share. Change it. So chat. Make co-host. I think that's required. And then you can share your screen. I think just there on the bottom, you can do that because it's open to everybody. Yes, no?
Working on it.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
All right. If you don't mind, you can maximize your browser. I think that's the best outlook. And then hit F11, actually. There you go.
Okay.
Great. So what you have here is kind of just Dexcom's complaints only. You can see the manufacturer name right there. And actually in MAUDE, they have like everyone's data. So if you wanted to add Medtronic or like Tandem, you could. But it's also filtered on product code. So you kind of have to do it in order, either
Okay, so
manufacturer name.
before I go, when I hit Medtronic, it looks like you're pulling up or would pull up all of the various manufacturing names for Medtronic. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. So actually, if you click out of there, excuse me, and then you see product code right there, there's a small X on the right. If you click that, you can select any product code you'd like. Just totally up to you.
Maureen, since he's a friend of the family, would you type in ResMed? And by the way, it took
Can I type in a value? Or sorry, what is that, Joe?
ResMed, RESMED. 10Xers know that Mick Farrell is a friend, and he has twice been our keynote
Yeah,
for our conference. And
under
look at it
manufacturer
twice.
name,
Go ahead.
sorry, under manufacturer name, you're on mini med right now. You may want to clear that and switch to ResMed as Joe requested.
It took him to be our keynote twice for me to accept his advice, get a sleep study, and now I am his newest customer. I've been
So
using that
would I
machine
have
for-
to select all of these? Are these all ResMed? So I need to select these individually?
Correct. So actually MAUDE has a lot of variation on reportability, and so it varies by subsidiary, region, etc. So it just depends on which sector or country you'd be interested in. But since we're looking at ResMed, you should click them all, and that
So
should
it'd be
give you.
nice to have an option at the top which just says select all in the search.
Great feedback. I can do that. It's just certain people prefer different regional subsidiaries, for example, like a European
Right.
branch might be
Not clear
different.
by doing this which one is which. So if I said I'm only interested in Benelux, I wouldn't know. Is that ResMed Inc? Is that ResMed Corp? I wouldn't know which one to click.
So
Right.
if you click out now, you can go to brand name and pick your brand name there.
Okay. So would I search for?
AirSense 11 is the product I'm using.
Okay.
Right.
Yep, and then you have to
Fine.
click product code because product code is kind of like the partition, if you will.
Right.
So
So it's giving, so ResMed, I'm assuming that
That's
this
the
product AirSense is BZD for the product code. Is that correct?
Yep, and if you go to master table right there, it should have all the complaints laid out.
Okay, where's master table? Here?
At the very top, there's
Primary navigation, the fourth button.
Oh, okay, sorry, it was covered by my little sharing bar.
No worries. So the FDA MAUDE links are right there, and it should have the various product problems, if applicable. So if you see the second column there, that should be directly to the FDA's database.
Okay, would there be a way here to give you like a one-word summary of
Yeah, it's event type.
event
Yeah.
type? It's just malfunction or injury?
Yep.
Mhm.
So we're mainly focused on those 4 quadrants we mentioned earlier. If you wanted the actual narrative, it's all right there. Because the narrative is quite lengthy, and I'm working on having AI summarize all the narratives, but it is a lot of data and cache burn.
How long have you been working on this?
A
We
couple
understand the
months.
Pipeline and, sorry?
A couple months. I think some other pipeline features might be like word clouds. So for example, if I wanted to find common or frequent keywords,
Mhm.
let's just say like the Philips recall had like foam sound abatement, like that could pop up. So that's one feature I'm working on.
This person just seems like they're bitching that they didn't get someone in customer care to answer their phone call.
Right.
Sounds normal.
And that hits MAUDE.
A lot of things hit MAUDE, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Seems worthless. I had to rely on my insurance company and the FDA when what? Oh. Now I'm stuck
How about
doing
people
this
like me
one.
that don't understand
Well-
what a product code is?
So how do I get back to the view then?
On Jan's behalf, I'm gonna ask if you can just look up packaging errors or defects.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how do I get back to the,
So if you hit F11, you should, I think you're in the browser. You can go back to whichever tab had it and
Ah,
go.
okay.
Okay.
And so yours is strictly web-based. There's no application to download onto your system or anything like that. There's not an app.
Well, this is an app, and you can bulk export or bulk download everyone's data and across 10 years if you wanted to. So this is
Okay.
the app, to be clear. But if you want to clear the filters, that would allow Michelle to search whatever she wants to search.
Okay, so we want to look for packaging errors.
Yeah, because I'm looking at product code. I don't know what that means.
Would that be under product problem? Or is it search
Is-
filters?
Is there a specific
Would
packaging?
be product problem.
That's
So,
where I would look.
so actually, if you go to search filters, excuse me, if you click search filters there and go to product problem, or under device risk right there, to the right a little bit.
Here?
Yep. It should give you all the codes across all products.
Packaging problem.
So there's going to be combinations of various codes. It just depends what you want. And you can search across all companies, all brands.
Anything particular you want, Jen or Michelle?
Dan,
Can you hear me?
I
Yes.
can now.
So, well, we would look at all of them and categorize it as human factors or problem with
What
delivered
do
as
you,
a usable
what do you
product.
want for the demo?
Oh, just say packaging problems, see what it says.
Well, that's, I mean, this
Well,
is,
there's a little category there. Or do you want it?
that one, that second one is what she's talking about. That said, 729, the 729.
okay.
I imagine you can, could you work the word pack on top?
Yeah.
And
So
again, this would be great where it'd be nice to have that select all if you wanted to see all of them.
sure. That'd be great. Yeah, I can, no problem.
All
Yeah.
right, and then what else do I need here?
You need the manufacturer name and the product code because
What if I want to look at for packaging problems across multiple manufacturers?
you would cherry pick which manufacturers you want. So if you click on the filter manufacturer D name, that'll give you options like a menu.
Would you just say all?
Correct. You-
Okay,
So there's Zimmer, Minimed, and then you would go to product code.
and well,
there's-
Lily would say all.
correct. So if you have to go back, you didn't click all. You have to just give it a second there. There you go.
Okay.
And so now if you go to master table, let's scroll down a little bit. Yep. This should give you all complaints with packaging problems isolated across all companies, all brands, what have you. And then you can go further, find the needle in the haystack, depending what you want.
So I will just say that from my perspective, having to click each of these individually to go and find that summary information
Mhm.
seems pretty labor intensive.
Yeah, he said he could fix that.
Yeah, we can fix that. The reason we have that is you can point to the FDA's website and any reporting you might have. That way it's verifiable.
I think it's good information to have there, so I think I wouldn't remove it, but
Mhm.
Can you export it?
Yep, you can
And
export
what happens when you
everything.
export it? Does it save the hyperlinks and you still have to go back and forth to the FDA website?
Yeah, so we have everything extracted in this table in addition to the FDA link.
okay, so how would I extract it?
Yeah, I haven't enabled that, but you can
okay.
you can basically copy Control-C, whatever text you want, and copy paste it like that. And at some point it just becomes too much data. You'll just have to call me and I can export it for you.
Well, that's not really scalable, I think.
Yep.
But you're scalable with a bigger team.
Well, there's a button where I can enable you to automatically export it. It just costs me money, unfortunately. So I haven't enabled it.
That's a good point. How are you funding this?
I'm just paying out of pocket. It's not that much money.
So low barrier to entry, anybody can do this?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's not much of a point of difference as your marketing friend.
I understand. The analytics piece is the one step further though, and it can be valuable as you bulk export.
Okay, so the company information gives me just the product code and the brand name.
Yep, so the goal of these various charts are to give you understanding of what is tagged true based on your query, if that makes sense. So it just depends who you are. If you're looking at lot codes, you can look at lot codes. If you're looking at your risk management file and you want to like research what's happening on the market in the real world, you could do that. If you wanted to correlate product problem codes to patient problems, you could do that. You can filter by adverse or not adverse, and so on.
If I could bring up the adverse events, for example.
Correct. And then we can find death or injury in the severity of it, SAEs.
Can you get information from here about whether there was a recall associated with this or not?
We can, but I haven't set it up for this demo. It also depends how recent the recall is. If it's an older recall, it's tagged and auto-linked. If it's a newer recall, some of these are not associated.
Is that because the links haven't been set up yet, or because the FDA is no longer doing those links?
It's based on the manufacturer inputting that data, actually. So it's neither the FDA or like my system. Let's see. If you go to patient problem, it can tell you kind of like the outcomes of alleged outcomes of these packaging problems.
Where do I find patient problem?
If you click the menu tab right there, that says patient problem, kind of at the very top on the very right.
Sorry, my bar is hiding a bunch of stuff here, so.
That's okay. So yeah.
Patient problem there, okay.
Right, so now we're narrowed down to packaging problem and then the affiliated patient problems from those packaging problems. So if you think about like cause and effect, like if I punched Sean and he got a bruise, that's so packaging problem here, and foreign body fever, maybe infection. And this is just what's out there, right? There's also obviously code combinations, so I think that's where it's useful, where it's not flat and it's multiple codes.
And there was only one death, unspecified tissue injury. Okay, what else can we see from this?
Yep, this is the various lot codes or serial numbers based on the query you added.
But this doesn't tell me which company those lot codes are associated with?
Well, if you go back to the filter that you filtered, it's exactly the ones you clicked.
And that was in the master table?
That was under search filters.
Search filters.
Yep. So
right, but that's all manufacturers, right?
It's the ones you clicked, which was all of them. So if you wanted to unclick them and pick one or two, that would be more useful for this particular use case.
The other thing you could do is you could also show the manufacturer information here.
Sure, yeah, understood.
And then we would at least know which lot number or which manufacturer this was associated with.
Yep. I built it in a way such that most people wouldn't search all manufacturers when they're looking for something for lot code, but good feedback. I can add that, no problem.
So my comment would be, if we're looking and using this for creating requirements or doing risk management, as we've talked about, typically we are selecting multiple manufacturers because we're looking for everybody that's going to make a similar product to see what issues they've been having.
Correct, but you wouldn't look at lot specific if you're doing risk research, I guess.
Mike.
And
Fair.
we've had problems with lot specific information on
Mhm.
packaging that affected a lot of manufacturers.
Ah, okay, perfect. Then I can add it. Should be a quick change.
Right.
So,
And there's-
Jesse,
Same is
sorry,
true
Mary.
for electronic components. If you have a failure with an electronic component manufacturer that affects multiple companies, it may be the same lot of that component.
Great, awesome. I didn't know that.
Jesse, David, are these fields I see on screen, malfunction, injury, total, are these sortable, rankable? Can I click on malfunction and see the top
Mhm.
malfunctions, or is this a default display?
I'm not sure
No
which
one-
screen you're looking at, but if you were to,
I think I'm looking at Marin's screen. I see unknown 22301 FG, the lots. Is this a searchable columns or not?
everything
All of
is
them.
everything is custom searchable. Yes.
Okay.
So it's more.
Although, yeah, you can't order it, for example, by malfunction, or you couldn't like sort the injury ones together.
If you hit the
Yeah.
3 dots on the top right corner of this table,
That one?
there is a sort function. It lets you sort
Ah.
what's highest in this lot code area. So if you wanted to
Okay,
do
that's
that, you could do that.
different. Just from a user interface standpoint, when I was at the master table,
Mhm.
I could sort by selecting at the top of individual columns.
Yep.
So having a different way of doing the sort when I'm in a different view, it'd be nice to have it all consistent. So you always did the sort the same way.
Okay, that sounds like I need to add some user training or maybe some
So,
onboarding to use it, but
So
good feedback.
Marin, I was interested if we put manufacturers in this type of table that I see, then I
Mhm.
want to be able to sort. I want to sort to see what the issues were by manufacturer or out of the lot table.
And I was kind of interested in wondering, for example, if 2230R1 FG2 or whatever it was a part or a lot number that appeared over multiple manufacturers, would I see 3 manufacturer names with that same lot number and the relative numbers for each of them? Going back to Jan's example of packaging that spawned multiple manufacturers.
Yeah. And so it would be the supplier's name, and I'm happy to add that column. It's really good feedback. All this is customizable, by the way. So all the fields you see in master table, whether columns or rows, we can dynamically arrange it to be the most useful for you. So if you think brand name or manufacturer name, or even model number, we can throw in there, and it'd be super easy. So it just takes like 5 minutes to do on the back end. If you go on the very left tab, there's a comparative side-by-side view. If you see the black menu on the very left right there, you have your mouse all the way left, all the way more.
I don't see anything further left here.
Yeah, continue moving your mouse left. There you go.
Ah,
If you
okay.
click TPLC pool,
Oh,
there's another view here where you have side-by-side comparisons of different manufacturers. So this one I preset as Dexcom versus Abbott versus Tandem. And then you can sort by brand name, for example. So if they have different models of Dexcom. So if you wanted like G7 versus G6, you could do that. Same thing with Abbott, Libre. They have like 3 or 4 models
So
nowadays.
do I select both of them here, or?
It depends what you're looking for. You've selected both G6 and G7. And so it just depends on what you're looking for.
So the question, if I select G6 and G7, those are both included in comparison 1. If
Correct.
I wanted to compare G6 and G7, I'd actually have to change comparison 2 to be G7, for example, and this would be G6. Is that correct?
Exactly. And if you were to click the risk analytics tab right there, it would showcase the data side by side.
Let me check.
But this one's preset on the Abbott, but you're welcome to change it.
I'm just gonna grab one on each of them.
I think
I-
she's becoming a super user.
Yeah,
Sure. Let's see. If you can do me a favor, if you can hit control and scroll, it seems like you have like you're either zoomed in or zoomed out. You can just go to 100. That should fix the outlook. Yeah, keep scrolling to 100%. There you go.
I think that's where I was.
Okay, I can fix that. That's fine.
I had a question, it might be Michelle. I was looking up Philips, who had 500 and some odd deaths, and they had everything recalled for their CPAP machines, and it's not in this database.
Yeah, I was gonna for sure ask about Phillips because that's such a huge volume of reports that should be in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do have it. We just cut it off at 2023. So
For the demo,
for this demo, correct. We have
It is
everything.
available in your system.
It is, yeah. In fact, I have a video showcasing that.
but I think that they had to file. Gosh, I think they filed like a lot, because they misfiled a bunch, and I think that they dumped a bunch in there in April.
Yep, so they've been reporting in from 2021
Mhm.
through the present. What you have in this demo is only January of last year. And so the portion of them are in here, but not the bulk of them
Got it.
from like 2021, 2022.
Can you put a link to the video where you did that?
Oh yeah, sure. Happy to do that.
And Michelle, David, aren't you still able to do like a group MDR, which has multiple products in it or multiple lot numbers of the same product? I
Multiple
forget
lot
the name.
numbers. Yes. Yeah,
So-
multiple lot numbers, and if more than one part number is affected, you can like do one for, but you have to do, that's for recalls. Well,
Yeah, okay.
but and for each event, you have to file the events separately.
Oh, my
But
memory
don't
was
we-
telling me you could do like a group MDR, but maybe not. I was going to ask Jesse
Before
if
we leave
those.
this, I just want to give you some user interface feedback.
Yep.
Because you, on comparison 1, you've assigned death as blue. In comparison 2, malfunction is blue. And in comparison 3, injury is blue. So when I'm looking at these diagrams, blue doesn't mean the same thing in each one.
Okay, really good feedback. I can fix that. No problem.
So I would make that consistent, and then I wouldn't use those same 3 colors when you're doing the product problems.
Gotcha. Yep, I can fix that. Michelle, I just messaged you the video.
Thank you.
This is how AI optimizes my schedule.
All right, well, I got to drop soon, but you're all welcome to play with it. Great feedback. I'm happy to change some of the color coding to your point. It's just automated based on the quadrants. I'm also going to fix some of the outlooks so the brand name shows up, and perhaps maybe I'll create some onboarding or training material on how to use the UI UX. That way it's a little more intuitive.
You're going to be busy. Do you have current paying customers? Are you still in beta?
We have one paying customer at the moment.
Okay, mom doesn't count.
Yeah, understood. It's a public company. So it's a couple $1 billion in revenue company, but happy to chat with you on the side about that.
Okay. Well, I hope it was helpful both for members, and this interactive way of giving you feedback is helpful for you in your development.
Absolutely, I appreciate everything. I'll fix the color coding, and it's definitely been really good.
Well, we
Thanks,
wish you luck.
Jesse.
Thanks for being our guest
Appreciate
today.
you coming out on short notice. He didn't have a lot of notice. So everybody thank him for excellent presentation. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks
If
so
the
much.
team wants to stay on a little bit, just 2 orders of business. First is I just sent a link Sean and Nick Wanless had the idea to help promote a 10X for next year if we were to gather in a separate meeting. It won't be on a Friday. This will be a Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, June 5th. I just sent the link. It will be a conversation including Anthony Chang and hopefully Michelle and some others who either presented at 10X or were there. So we can get some clips about what your experience was, why 10X is different than other things, et cetera, so that we can help spread the word for next year, which looks increasingly likely thanks to your love and a lot of effort from a lot of people other than me.
So what I'm doing today to that end is creating a LinkedIn event for the thing.
Mhm.
And if you want to be a panelist on that, then I will include you as the panelist. And then with one click, you can invite members of your audience to attend up to 1,000 per week. So you basically be able to invite 1,000
Okay,
people.
let's be reasonable here. Unless they all have an Ann Del Riva working for them, that's not gonna happen.
Okay, well, the thing is
Oh.
no, actually with the when you use the share button on an event and you click to industry equals medtech or
Mhm.
medical manufacturing or whatever the category
What
is.
Sean is saying that either he or I can help you do this since we don't expect you
Right.
to be.
But the other thing, and this is the thing that I really wanted to explain. So I wrote this, I brainstormed in the shower on all the different reasons to
We
attend
don't need
10X.
that kind of visual, Sean. This is a family show.
Since when?
Go on.
You remember the C word that you like to use?
C word. What
From
C word have I used?
from The Usual Suspects?
They didn't use, oh, that's true. There is a C
Yeah,
word.
not a family show.
Now
The thing is that
a sailor. She's very engaged in this part of the conversation.
so the thing is that what I wanted to say is I want you guys to help promote this webinar that we're going to do. And the way that you can help promote the webinar is you can take the sample text that I've written and add a paragraph. What I love about 10X is, right? So you can choose from any of the templates that I provide and and just make it your own. So either use your own copy altogether, use copy cut and pasted directly from what I give you, or a mix of that. But the important thing to remember is that you need to start with the image and then add the text, and then because there's a link, and the link will try to replace the image in LinkedIn, and you don't want that to happen. You want, I'm not making any sense.
Well, I think when you're ready to do that, Sean will be available.
Okay.
Actually, Sean, it might be a good idea in the Slack channel, in the general one, once you get it all set up, just put instructions in there. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, and I could do a loop video as well.
The second link I'm sharing right now is pertains specifically to these Friday calls. Because so many of you volunteered to help find speakers, such as Sean did with Jesse, and Sean has actually taken the responsibility of being on call for every third week, since his network with MedTech Leading Voices has him engaging with folks so often. The link I've just shared there, medgroup.biz/Fridays, has a sortable list of every episode we have. You can sort by the speaker, so Andre can go and relive those famous moments when he was the guest, and Susie can do the same, and Rick, all of you, I think, at some point, except David, who's very reticent to show his face in public, and for good reason. Anyhow, so you can both use it to click through to see the videos, to sort by topic, engineering versus reimbursement, etc. And you'll see the out weeks where we have no speaker, and you can say, hey, I see you don't have anyone for October 14th. I know a guy, or I know a gal, or I have a topic. And that will help us keep this train rolling. Is that Doobie Brothers? Train rolling?
Might have been.
Or it might be Clarence Clearwater Revival. I don't know. You people of a certain age can help me out. Okay. Susie, any updates on your product development and new awards and grants you've won since we talked last week?
I'd say I got a new award. Women, I-95 magazine did an article about me and women of influence. And then next week I'm up for a BioBuzz award. Fingers crossed.
These
And
awards are more than certificates and a little plastic trophy, yes?
yeah, and we are about 3 months away from FDA approval. We're
Good.
currently waiting on BD to provide some of the information that we need. We may have to do one test, which is going to cost us about 50K. I am happy to say that because of 10X and going out there and spending a little bit of money, I did develop a relationship and have a new investor from your conference, Joe. Thank you very much. We'll talk offline. I really need to raise a little bit more funds. I have a new contract with BD. We're moving to a B2B platform, and I'm hoping that everything's going to turn out. It's
Wow,
Nellie.
thanks.
I've been talking to Nellie like almost every week. She's been my pillow to cry on.
Has this person from the conference already given you money?
Pardon? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say goodbye to you, because I was making an investment negotiation.
Money talks, people walk.
Yeah, well, we're gonna change the world together.
Thank you.
Thank
Speaking
you.
of investments, this is not a solicitation. Consult your financial advisor. Any past performance is not an indication of future results. Alyssa Huffman is also fundraising. Those of you who are in the audience know that she has two major backers who it takes time and lawyers and contracts and such. She is looking to raise another 150,000 with very favorable terms. I gave her some of my hard-earned money. And if you see the promise in her biodegradable screw for spinal fusions, as I do, and as Maurizio and Mark Viscolosi do, get in touch with her. I know that she'd be very appreciative, as our friend has run up significant credit card debt at 28%, and I hate to hear friends doing that. So if you can help her, do it. And you too will be rewarded as we all grow rich together. Am I right, Sue? Family that stays together. Okay, next week, our speaker is Richard Koch, and he's going to talk to us about software as a medical device. So that should be an interesting topic for Joe Hage and Joe Hage Enterprises. This has been Joe Hage. Thank you for calling and have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.